What's going on, everybody? Today we got another special guest, Derek Wayne Johnson, the producer and director of John G. Avildsen, King of the Underdogs, the new Frank Stallone documentary, and the 40 Years of Rocky. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. How you doing?
Pretty good. So, what was what made you want to get involved, in the film industry?
Well, my whole life I wanted to make movies, and I grew up watching The Karate Kid and Rocky and all these John Avildsen movies, and I don't know, it just really inspired me to make films,
Yeah.
and I've just been wanting to do this since I was 3 years old. Actually, the first movie I saw in the theater or that I remember seeing in a theater, was The Karate Kid Part Two. So I
Yeah.
was 3 years old, and it was like, bam, I want to make movies.
Yeah. So, how'd you get involved with the John G. Avildsen King of the Underdogs?
Well, John was like a hero of mine. I mean, he was like
Yeah.
my filmmaking influence. So I found him online and sent him a message, and he replied. And then we just kind of had this rapport going. And all of a sudden, I offered him a couple of scripts. He turned me down.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let me make a movie about you. And he was like, okay, let's do it. So it
Yeah.
was really just like that.
Yeah, so what was the process like making that? What year did y'all start production on that?
Well, came up with the idea in 2012, but we didn't start production until 2014. And I actually moved to Los Angeles. My producing partner and I, Chris May, we moved to LA from Texas, and immediately we're boots on the ground. We started making that film,
Yeah.
and it took us about 3 years from start to finish. And the reason why it took so long is about a year and a half we made the film, but then it was another year and a half of like making John happy with it, getting a
Yeah.
distributor, and getting it out there.
Post production, all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was your favorite interview you got to do from that?
Whoa. Oh man. Well, I always say this: the best day I've ever had on set ever was when I interviewed Sylvester Stallone for that
Yeah,
documentary,
yeah.
because everything just went so smooth, and it was just a really good day. But all the interviews were great, and I made a lot of
Yeah.
friends, including Sly, and we've gone on to work together on other stuff, and Ralph, and of course John. But I don't know, there was something about that day that was really special.
Yeah. So yeah, what was it like, getting to, speak with people like, Tamlyn Tomita and Yuji Okumoto? I know you got to make it more, you can't be like a fan, when you're trying to interview people like that though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to be a friend. That's what I always
Yeah.
say. Don't be a
Yeah.
fan, be a friend. Right off the bat, Tamlin was just a total sweetheart and a total professional.
Yeah.
And same with Yuji. I mean, it kind of became like this family, and this was pre Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
So this was like the first time all these people were coming back together, other than
Yeah.
conventions and things like that. So I take a lot of pride in that we brought all these people back together, and especially for one film, it was
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah, hopefully I'll interview them at some point. But yeah, so what was it like going into like, some of his, earlier struggles and like, between Rocky and Karate Kid?
Well, I mean, what's interesting about John is he grew up with a silver spoon. I mean, he was a rich kid, so he
Yeah.
didn't really struggle in that sense. You'll find in the documentary he had dyslexia, things like that. But one thing he struggled with was he was very opinionated,
Yeah.
and he was good at making these little movies. So, he didn't know that Rocky was going to be a huge hit, much less he
Yeah.
would win an Oscar for it. By the time though he got to Karate Kid, he was a hot property himself.
Yeah.
So he did tell me that he had the most fun making the Karate Kid.
Yeah, so what was the Frank Stallone one, that just came out. So how did you get involved, like how'd you get involved, with Frank to make that?
Well, Frank and I were friends before we approached him to do that.
Yeah.
He and I met up one night at a dinner with mutual friends, and I had this footage of him on my phone that John Avildsen had shot of Frank and Sly 40 years before. during the
Yeah.
making of Rocky. And I said, Frank, I bet you've never seen this. And I showed it to him on my phone, and immediately we clicked. So it was about a year of friendship before we approached him to do a documentary on him. And it kind of fell in line with that whole underdog thing that we're doing here,
Yeah.
or have done. So yeah, that's how that came about.
Yeah. What was it like getting into, some of like, where he was, having to deal with, Rocky's brother, type of thing, like, like it's, said in the documentary.
Well, he's used to it by now, but
Yeah.
as you find in the film, it really hurt him. I mean, it
Oh
really
yeah.
brought him down quite a bit. And it's just something now he can laugh about it because it still happens all the
Yeah.
time. But he really learned, I think, how to grow out of that and move on from it.
Yeah. So when it comes to Rocky Five, did John talk anything else more about like, what the original ending was other than what we saw in the documentary?
Yeah, yeah. And as you see in the documentary, originally Rocky was going to die,
Yeah.
and Adrian is holding him in her arms and whatnot. Um, and so we go into kind of, or John goes into detail in the documentary about
Yeah.
that. I don't really know much more about any other endings or anything past that, but I've heard that there was more to it than that. He never really discussed that with me, other than what you see in the film
Yeah.
in the documentary. But I'm sure there was more to it than that.
Yeah. So what is your favorite Rocky?
The first one, for sure.
First one.
Yeah. Same thing with Karate Kid, the first one. Actually,
Yeah.
Rocky and the Karate Kid are tied for my favorite films of all time. So,
Yeah. So yeah, so how'd you get involved? So like did Sly come to you about the, 40 years of Rocky, or did you come to him, or how did that, kind of play out?
well, he came to me in a weird sort of way. We, myself, Chris May, and Frank Stallone went to Sly's house to show him King of the Underdogs because
Yeah.
he's in it. And while the credits are rolling, he kind of like, you see the light bulb go off, and Sly kind of leaned into his chair, and that's when he came up with the idea, like, I want you guys to do 40 Years of Rocky. And this was
Yeah.
in 2016, which was the 40th year. Obviously, it didn't come out until the 44th year.
Yeah.
But that was totally Sly's idea, and it was just kind of like, again, a light bulb moment. King of the Underdogs led to 40 Years of Rocky, led to Stallone Frank, that is. So
Yeah.
it was this kind of unofficial trilogy I have going on.
Yeah, what's your favorite Sly non-Rocky movie?
Favorite Sly non-Rocky? Well, First Blood, hands down.
Yeah, that's a good movie
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it's just a terrific film. What's cool story. Um, let's see. I'm trying to get one. Okay, so when we showed him King of the Underdogs,
Yeah.
and he came up with 40 Years of Rocky, he actually put Rocky on. It was streaming on Netflix at the time,
Yeah.
and we watched scenes with him, and he like skimmed through it and gave us a bunch of stories. Okay, so cut to when he did the narration for 40 Years of Rocky. When
Yeah.
we were done, First Blood just happened to be on TV. So he's like, let's watch some First Blood. And it was actually kind of the end of the movie, and he was giving us anecdotes
Yeah.
about that. So it was really weird that like I'm sitting at Sly's house watching Rocky with him, watching First Blood with him.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
telling me all these kind of cool stories. It was really
Yeah.
bizarre, really wild.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know or not, was he like working on writing Last Blood at that time?
Let's see, at that time, yeah, it was right around that time. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I knew what Creed 2 was going to be about like 2 years before it came out.
Yeah.
He told me at his house. So it's like, you go to Sly's house, you're going to get a treat. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Creed 3 is going to be too good without him.
Yeah, well, I agree. You got to have Rocky.
Yeah. It's just, and yeah, Michael B. Jordan's never directed either, but that's
Yeah,
beside.
yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows how it'll turn out?
Yeah, I'm ready to see that new series he's going to come out with though.
Oh yeah.
Younger Rocky or whatever. I think that'll be really good.
Yeah. It's a very interesting concept. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, how long does it usually take? Like with these documentaries, getting all this archive footage, getting all these interviews in and traveling. How long does that usually, take around?
Well, I mean, it depends on each project. for us, it takes a couple of years because
Yeah.
you've got to line up all of the interviews, and we usually shoot like maybe 50 interviews.
Yeah.
You have to collect the footage, license the footage, or fair use the footage. You have to find the footage.
Yeah.
So it's a really crazy process that just takes a very long time. You really have to be dedicated to the film,
Yeah.
in order for it to see it to the end. Unlike a feature film where you can just write it, shoot it, edit it, you're done. This takes
Yeah.
a very long time.
Yeah, so what was it like, getting to speak with some of, like the OG Cobras, Rob Garrison, who's passed now, what was it like? Yeah, because he had them like all together there, like it was like two or three of them, or maybe it was four, can't remember.
Oh, in that one shot, it was
Yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah, three, yeah,
It was great, man. Like, yeah, Rob, he was a really nice guy. We had some side conversations there for a few years, and we would talk movies and things like
yeah,
that. And he was he was really proud to be an actor. I remember picking that up from him, and
yeah,
yeah, just all the Cobra guys. They're all awesome. They're cool.
yeah,
They're like a little fraternity, pretty much, and they're
yeah,
all still friends. And it was just really cool. It was like really cool experience. There's one shot in King of the Underdogs where this was totally by chance. So I have Tony, Ron, and Rob in a three shot and in a wide because we
yeah,
did their interview at the same time. And then there's a picture of them in that order as the Cobras from a still or behind the scenes shot from the
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
they're like lined up that way. So it worked out perfectly for editing purposes. Totally random.
yeah. I know John wasn't like a big Kid 3 guy, but did y'all approach Thomas Ian Griffith to be in it?
We did. We didn't hear back, unfortunately. We
Yeah,
we approached pretty much everyone you can think of,
yeah,
but some of them they scheduling or they weren't interested or we just
okay,
couldn't get in touch with them. I felt bad for Randy Heller actually
yeah,
because I had the flu and she was at a Karate Kid screening that my crew went to film and interviewed her, but I wasn't there,
yeah.
and I actually had to cut her interview
Oh,
because it
dang.
just didn't flow, didn't fit,
Yeah,
and I wish I had been well so I could have been there to conduct it
yeah,
myself. And but she's the only one. Well, her and Fumio Demura, who,
yeah.
as you know, was the stunt double for
Bro,
an inspiration for Mr. Miyagi.
yeah,
Unfortunately, he was cut, but so we interviewed a lot of people and only had to make a couple of cuts. But yeah, with Thomas, like we reached out, but we just didn't hear back.
yeah. I'm surprised they got him back for Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. It's interesting who we tried to get for that doc and who's coming back to Cobra Kai. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we tried Elizabeth Shue, but we couldn't get her. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So have you watched Cobra Kai? Are you a fan of the show?
huge fan,
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So what was your favorite part of season 3?
Oh, favorite part of season three. Well, probably, you mentioned them earlier, like Tamlyn coming back and
Yeah,
Yuji. I mean, look, I'm old school, so I love the kids and the new stories that are happening, but I'm a Karate
yeah,
Kid guy, so the nostalgia aspect for me is what gets me. And I think a lot of people my age, I mean, that's what we grew up with, these
yeah,
characters. So to see them come back was very special.
yeah. I grew up with the original 3 movies, so I always like seeing some of the OG cast coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. I could
Yeah,
tell you're a fan with your background there. You've got
yeah,
quite the collection.
yeah. I'm really excited about Terry Silver coming back. He's probably my favorite villain out of all of them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Certainly over the top villain.
yeah. It's not Karate Kid 3 isn't the best written movie, but Thomas Ian Griffith's performance was just outstanding in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. And here's a guy that isn't he like younger than Ralph, playing
Yeah,
older than
he's
Ralph?
like almost a whole year younger than him. Yeah,
Yeah, and it was very believable. I
it was
mean,
his
and
first
a
ever
real
movie
martial
too.
artist.
Yeah, yeah, he's like a black belt in like Taekwondo.
Yeah, yeah, he was great in that film.
Yeah. So what was it like getting to speak with Robert Mark Kamen for the John G. Avildsen doc?
He's a very interesting guy. He's a character. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed interviewing him. We had a lot of funny moments off camera or outtakes that, I can't talk about, but
yeah,
he was he had a lot of respect for John, that's for
yeah,
sure. And a lot of great stories, and a wonderful writer.
yeah. So what was it like, I think y'all spoke with Jerry Weintraub, right before he passed.
Yeah, Jerry, man. He was probably the most charming man I've ever met. I mean, he
Yeah,
was just class all the way. I remember when we reached out, I get a phone call like 8 a.m. And one morning, I had just moved to LA,
yeah,
and
yeah,
uh, and I'm a big fan of Jerry's book and documentary on him. So I get this call, and it's like, Derek, it's Jerry. I was like,
yeah,
oh, Mr. Weintraub, no, 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 it's Jerry. Call me Jerry.
yeah,
And I knew immediately, I was like, this guy's cool.
yeah,
And uh, yeah, he was just a character. What's sad is, well, here's a cool tidbit. So I'm meeting John for lunch at the Beverly
yeah,
Hills Hotel. I'm a little late. So as I walk in, Jerry's walking out, and I had just been at Jerry's house a week ago interviewing him. So I was
yeah,
like, hey, Jerry, did you see John? He goes, he's here? I go, yeah, I'm meeting him right now.
yeah,
And he goes, oh, where is he? I said, well, come back and I'll show you.
yeah,
So I walked Jerry back, and I got to see Jerry and John like hug and kind of
yeah. That's
like,
awesome.
and we just hung out for lunch, and I was just
Yeah,
like, this is pretty cool. Now the sad part, I was set to have lunch with Jerry like right before he died. We were trying to
yeah,
set up a lunch with just he and I, and then he passed away.
wow.
So
Yeah,
I can only imagine what that lunch would have been like, you know?
yeah, yeah. One of my favorite parts from that documentary is when y'all had Daryl Vidal, who created the crane, out there doing the crane kick on the stump on the same beach. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Daryl's like family to me.
Yeah,
He's awesome. His family's great. A great martial artist,
yeah.
great guy. He actually was an associate producer. He and his wife,
Oh
April,
wow.
on our documentary. They donated early on to our
Yeah,
Kickstarter, so he was just incredible guy. I miss hanging out with him. He's so cool.
yeah. So did you ever, do martial arts, karate or boxing or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a lifelong martial artist. I've been in karate for 24 years now.
Yeah. Wow.
Did some boxing, kickboxing, nothing professional. So I don't want to
Yeah.
go on the record saying I did something I didn't,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's been a part of my life for, the better part of my life. What about you?
Yeah, I did like a little bit of taekwondo when I was younger. Then I did jujitsu for about like 6 or 7 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's quite an
So
accomplishment.
yeah, it's just yeah, I got into wrestling, so I kind of got out of that. But what's your next film you want to make? Whether it's a documentary or just a movie or
Well, we have, because of the pandemic, obviously things are kind of messed up at the moment.
yeah,
But we have documentaries, we have features they're all on hold. I
yeah,
can't really talk about them,
yeah. I understand that.
but they're there and we're ready to do them. We're just kind of, waiting for this pandemic to kind of slow
Yeah,
down so we can all get back to work.
yeah. So do you prefer to be a director and writer, like instead of like an actor? Because I saw you had a few acting credits as well.
I used to be an actor
Yeah,
and a filmmaker at the same time. I gave up acting. It was a great exercise. It got me in the door.
yeah,
It taught me a lot. And I wanted to be an actor, but I just realized it wasn't for me. I'm a
yeah,
storyteller, I'm a director. So definitely love directing. I love feature films more than documentaries, although I'm enjoying the whole documentary
yeah,
world. Don't get me wrong. But I'm ready to get back to feature films and yeah. And
yeah.
but again, these documentaries have been really good to me.
Yeah, so what was it like to meet Billy Dee Williams? I mean, a legend.
Oh, he was super cool, man. He
Yeah.
was like and for the audience, he was in Stallone Frank, that is, my
Yeah.
latest documentary. But he was so cool. I remember I had just gotten a new iPhone and he was like He's like, "Oh, I just got that one too." And it turns out we got like the same iPhone on the same
Yeah,
day. That was cool. You're just hanging out with Lando Calrissian, looking
yeah,
at other
exactly. Yeah.
iPhones. But he was super cool. Very nice man, and very sweet, very soft spoken. I enjoyed hanging out with him.
Yeah, so what's your favorite martial arts movie?
Well, I don't consider the Karate Kid a martial arts movie. I just think it's
It's
a
yeah,
drama. So we'll
yeah.
set that aside. Um, Man, I probably Bloodsport.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that is a martial arts movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, I grew up on Bruce Lee films as well. He was my hero growing up. But as far as one movie, taking away Karate Kid, Bruce Lee, Bloodsport.
Yeah, what's crazy about that movie is they barely were even able to shoot it because it's such a low budget.
Yeah, and it's all make believe. Didn't really
Yeah.
happen. But when you're a kid and you're at the video store and you see this cover with Van Damme and it says Bloodsport based on a true story. There's no internet. That
Yeah.
doesn't exist. You believe that truly happened. Of course, now we know it was all BS, but it's still a wonderful, awesome movie.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, the thing about Bloodsport is it's it's a good movie, but them stats they put at the end in credits is a bunch of crap.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it didn't happen, but again, when you're a kid, you really believe it, and
Oh yeah, you're like, "Oh, that's so cool." Yeah.
you're like, I want to be like that guy. It
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Yeah, do you like the Kickboxer movie?
Yeah, which is basically Bloodsport, watered down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up watching all that stuff. I mean, Van Damme, Chuck Norris. Grew up watching all that stuff. Love it all. It's a lot
Yeah.
of cheese, but it's just fun. It's just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so like during the quarantine, what's some shows and movies you've binged?
Well, I don't really binge per se. I watch a lot of movies more than
Yeah.
shows, but obviously Cobra Kai,
Yeah.
Stranger Things. Those are the kind of shows I like to binge.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Everyone's kind of getting on to me because there's all these other shows that I need to check out, and I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, what's a show you'd like to get rebooted, kind of like Cobra Kai, like from like a movie or a older show?
Oh wow. Well, quite frankly, I think Cobra Kai does it so well, and I know the Rocky prequel will do well as well, that it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, and also I don't want to say anything if, what if someone steals the idea or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, gosh, that's a good one. Well, you might as well just throw in Rambo, which I heard
Yeah,
that
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, maybe a backstory on that.
yeah,
But she's talking about doing another Rambo movie, so yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many ideas and
Yeah.
options that we could do. But yeah,
Yeah, it's just I think Cobra Kai is the one reboot that isn't like trying too hard to like they have references and Easter eggs, but it's not forced, I feel like some of these other ones.
right. I agree. I mean, it's just so well done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai it gives you everything that you want and everything you need in a show.
Yeah.
Period. You know.
Yeah, so I'm assuming when y'all did the, John G. Avildsen one, none of them knew anything about Cobra Kai at that time.
No, no. As a matter of fact, uh, I remember when John Avildsen died. I remember someone that he and I knew contacted me and was like, "Did John know about this, about Cobra
Yeah.
Kai, when it was announced?" I was like, "No." I mean, he knew about other ideas that people were throwing around, but I think he really would have enjoyed this show.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on Over the Top?
Wow. I haven't seen it in 30 years. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. But I remember enjoying it as a kid.
Yeah.
It's
I think that's his one of his underrated movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've watched clips of it recently, but I haven't seen the film in a long time, so I
Yeah,
couldn't really comment on it. Um, yeah, I remember I enjoyed it as a kid.
yeah. So last question, what's your advice, for anyone wanting to get into making films and, stuff like that?
Well, you just have to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, you just have to make movies. You have to learn it. You have to write. You have to direct. You have an iPhone. You can shoot things on with your friends. Shoot on weekends. You hear everybody say the same thing, and it's true. Um, just pick up a camera and go shoot. But also learn the craft.
Yeah.
Learn how to do it. In other words, like it's so saturated now with independent filmmakers because everyone has a camera
Yeah.
that it doesn't make them good. So
Yeah.
really learn the process and understand why and how, and it'll make you a better filmmaker. That's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. Educate
Yeah.
yourself.
I just want to thank you for coming on today. It was great to be able to speak with you.
Hey, thanks for having me, and great speaking with you. And I dig your podcast, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Have a good one.
You
Couldn't
too.
have found a better director for Rocky. There's no way. He's perfect.
Yeah!